Hello, my name is Brian Bush and I'm the park manager for the Perryville Battlefield State Historic Site. And today's artifact we're going to talk about is this canteen. This is a standard issued federal canteen that was given to Private Burroughs Canfield. Now, Burroughs Canfield was born on September 15th, 1840. He enlisted on August 5th, 1862 in the 105th Ohio Volunteer Infantry Company G. Colonel Albert S. Hall was commander of the 105th Ohio. The 105th Ohio was part of the 33rd Brigade, commanded by General William Terrell, and the 10th Division, commanded by General James S. Jackson, in the 1st Army Corps under General Alexander McCook. Now, we're going to go ahead and head out to the battlefield, and we'll talk about the 105th Ohio Infantry and what they did during the battle. So come join me on the battlefield, will you? Okay, we're here out on the battlefield, and I'm standing on where the 105th Ohio Infantry, the 123rd Illinois, the 80th Illinois, and Garrard's Attachment would have been positioned up on this ridge, which we call the knob. Now, this is what the 105th Ohio would have seen in front of them. As Donaldson Brigade came up first, he started swinging off to my right. The next brigade that came up with was Alexander Stewart's brigade. And as you can see, Alexander Stewart's brigade was getting caught up in this rail fence that you see in front of you. The next brigade that came up was Manny's brigade. And he started coming around, and you got to keep in mind, you got to close your eyes for a minute and just imagine this is a little bit more wooded area back in 1862 than it is now. Now at 2:30 p.m., the 34th Brigade under Colonel Webster of the 98th Ohio Infantry, who was in the advance, was engaging the Confederates under Stewart and Manny. At 3 p.m., General Terrell ordered the 33rd Brigade to move to the field. The 105th Ohio was marching in the rear of Colonel Charles Parsons' battery, and when the regiment reached the field, the men were ordered to form on the left of the road in reserve. General Terrell ordered the regiment to the left through some woods to the extreme left of the Union line. Upon reaching the position, Hall found the 123rd Illinois Infantry under Colonel Monroe engaging the Confederates on the right and rear of Parsons' battery. Now, in case you're wondering where Parsons' battery was, it's also in this exact same position we're standing on. This is a representation of one of Parsons' batteries. All would have been on this ridge. As soon as the 105th Ohio reached the position on the left and rear of Parsons' battery, at 2:50 p.m., General Terrell ordered for the 123rd Illinois to charge 3 Confederate regiments led by Major Perkins. The 123rd Illinois stormed down the hill in confusion to the right front, moving towards the 6th and 9th Tennessee regiments, the fence that you see in front of you, and the trees that would have been here. Halfway between Parsons' battery and the fence, the Illinois troops fired one volley before the Confederates fired a point-blank volley, which sent the Illinois troops back up this hill. The 123rd lost a quarter of their men on the eastern slope of the hill. Union General Terrell and Union General James S. Jackson were beside Parsons' guns and tried to have the 123rd Illinois stand their ground as they fell back up this hill. Jackson remarked to Samuel Starling, "Well, I'll be damned if this is not getting rather particular." And as he turned to Major Connolly of the 123rd Illinois, advising him to dismount, a Confederate bullet hit Jackson. The bullet entered right below Jackson's nipple, killing him instantly, and it was right on the right-hand side. And I'm spinning around here, and there's the marker on this spot where Brigadier General James S. Jackson fell from his mortal wound. While the 123rd Illinois was repulsing the Confederate attack, Turner's Confederate battery, and if you go onto YouTube, you can see I have a video just on Turner's battery, which was positioned on the hill right across from us, opened fire on the Confederate right and enfiladed Hall's line. At a distance of 80 yards in an open field, Parsons' battery and the 105th Ohio delivered a, quote, most terrible and destructive fire into the Confederate lines. In return, a rebel enfilading battery and Manny's brigade, concealed in the woods, returned fire. 4 Confederate regiments drew down portions of the fence and headed up the eastern slope of the hill. I'm spinning around to show you where they're talking about, and here's the eastern slope. Terrell ordered a bayonet charge. The 105th Ohio surged forward, and Captain H.H. Cummings fired 2 rounds of double canister from a section of guns under Parsons Battery and abandoned his guns and moved to the rear of the 105th Ohio. The Federal line broke underneath the fire, and the Confederates took all of Parsons Battery except for 1 howitzer. Albion Torgey of the 105th Ohio wrote, quote, "There was a clang of bayonets. The left company surged forward to the front of the battery. Captain H.H. Cummings, ours, fired the 2 right guns, double-shotted with canister, full in the faces of the enemy, then almost at the muzzles of the pieces, and with his few remaining men dashed through our ranks to the rear under cover of the smoke. 2/3 of all the men of Parsons Battery had been killed or wounded. With the battery disabled and the Confederate artillery on Hall's flank, his position became indefensible. The 105th Ohio lines collapsed, and the men ran down the hill," which I'm spinning around to show you here. General Terrell spiked the gun nearest to him and ran down the hill with the rest of the 105th Ohio, the 120th Illinois, the 80th Illinois, and Garrard's detachment. The Confederates followed the fleeing Federal troops, and when the Confederates reached the crest of where the 105th Ohio had been, the 105th received a fire that opened their ranks with the wildest havoc. The 105th Ohio was still under fire from Turner's battery. Terrell ordered the 105th to retire into a cornfield. Cornfield would have been right in front of you in that lower dip that you see. In the field, the 105th Ohio was exposed to the Confederate artillery and musketry, and hidden among the trees from each other by the corn. The men all got intertangled within the cornfield. General Terrell ordered a movement by the flank, but the men could not see him or hear his command. The regiment divided and scattered. The 105th Ohio formed in the rear of Bush's battery, which you see up on the hill here. We have all the way in the distance on the next ridge over where that line of trees are. While manning one of the guns under Bush's battery, quote, "Our brave and beloved Terrell fell mortally wounded by the fragment of a shell," unquote. When Terrell was killed, the command of the 33rd Brigade fell to Colonel Hall. Hall turned command of the 105th Ohio over to Lieutenant Colonel Tolley's, and Hall proceeded to collect the brigade. Hall pointed out that the 105th Ohio did not even have 20 days of drill. Many of the men had not even fired their weapons yet. During the battle, Captain L.D. Key, Company I, and Robert Wilson, Company H, were killed. 29 enlisted men, quote, "gave their lives to the cause of the constitutional liberty, each a precious offering on freedom's altar." Hall also had 130 men wounded during the battle. Luckily, we do have some first-hand accounts of the battle from men that were in the 105th Ohio Infantry. And one of them is from a gentleman named Lester DeWitt Taylor of Company E, 105th Ohio. And he wrote about his experience during the battle. He wrote that, quote, "We're ordered to support a battery and double-quicked it up one hill down, part way up another. When we fought, the battery deserted. We were halted and told to fix bayonets and load and fire at will. The enemy were ambushed on 2 sides and in front, and as soon as we were in position to shoot them, they opened crossfires at us. But as we worked on our knees, the balls passed over us. I never knew hail to fall faster than the bullets did. We were ordered to retreat, which we did about 10 rods, leaping 2 fences, and halted in a piece of timber and worked each for himself. I kept the fence rising to fire and dropping to load. Were ordered to retreat to the gully 6 rods to the rear. I did not even hear the order and kept at work till turning my head a little. When sending a bullet home, I saw but one man in sight, Charlie Hitchcock. Turned my head the other way and saw three other men I delivered that fire and fell back with the regiment. We did not see Charlie alive again. He was found there dead." John Morse of the 105th Ohio wrote to his friends at home on October 16, 1862, from Danville, Kentucky, about his experience during the battle. He wrote, "Parsons Battery, quote, had been pushed out on a hill with 40 rods of the enemy, and our regiment was sent to their left to protect them. We moved out on the brow of the hill with the enemy in the woods within 40 rods, and then men to our one. 4 men to our 1. There was a gully between us and the enemy full of bushes. We delivered our fire on the enemy in the edge of the woods, and in a moment the gully was alive with the enemy, who rose from the bushes and at the same time advanced from the woods, firing as they came, and opened on us from a battery with grape and canister. After firing 3 times, the general ordered us to retreat, which soon did, but not in very good order, as we were like to be surrounded. I have read of bullets coming as thick as hail, but never conceived of it before. In that short time, 1 bullet and 1 buckshot struck the butt of my gun. Another bullet went through the ends of my blanket, which was slung over my shoulder, and another spent buckshot struck me on the knee, but did me no harm. As soon as the regiment was formed again, they advanced, and the left wing made 3 bayonet charges. The shell, round shot, and bullets were constantly screaming and whirling around and over our heads. The battery was all but taken, but 1 gun. The other guns were taken a short distance by the enemy, and the carriages cut to pieces. General Terrell dismounted and sighted and fired 1 of the guns himself, and then spiked it. He was wounded and died at 11 o'clock that night. General Jackson was killed on the field. That night we slept on the field of battle in rear of an Indiana battery. Our regiment lost over 200 in killed and wounded. Our company lost 6 killed and 18 wounded. General Terrell moved the 105th Ohio 60 yards to the rear and formed the line of an old fence. Now, there are other quotes that we have from gentlemen that served in the 105th Ohio, and I encourage you to come to the Perryville Battlefield State Historic Site and Museum and learn more about what these brave men did during the Battle of Perryville. Now, getting back a little bit to Burroughs Canfield that I started at the very beginning of the video, just to let you know, on October 24th of 1862, Burroughs Canfield was discharged from the Union Army at Louisville, Kentucky on a Surgeon's Certificate of Disability. He died on March 29th, 1917 in Darien, New York. He had 2 daughters, Ida and Clara, who lived with him, and a sister, Mrs. D.B. Mallory of Sherman, Connecticut. He was buried at Darien Cemetery. Again, thank you for watching my video today. And if you have any questions, I'll leave them in the comments section below. And again, come on out to the Perryville Battlefield State Historic Site and walk our trails and literally follow in the footsteps of these brave men that fought here at the Battle of Perryville on October 8th of 1862. Thank you.